It was a busy weekend in Washington. As you know, over the weekend, Donald Trump, as expected, was acquitted in his impeachment trial before the US Senate. A majority of the senators found him guilty, but not the two-thirds majority required. Tellingly, though, 7 Republican senators, 7 of his own party, voted that the former president was guilty. But of course, for all the drama and the vitriol, this divisive ploy failed, which means Trump is still eligible to run again. And it leaves the question of what Trump chooses to do and what his party chooses to do with him. The woman he appointed to the United Nations, former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, a woman I certainly admire greatly, has lamented his behaviour since the election, especially around the riots of January the 6th. And she has said he went down a path he shouldn't have, and we shouldn't have followed him, and we shouldn't have listened to him, and we can't let that ever happen again. So that's one view: banish the former president, move on without him, never listen to him again. Tough call for the Republicans, and even harder to do given Trump's support base and his power and his money. But there are others in the grand old party who see this entirely differently. Listen to South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham.
The Trump movement is alive and well. People believe that he brought change to Washington. Policy-wise, it was long overdue. All I can say is that the most potent force in the Republican Party is President Trump. We need Trump plus. And at the end of the day, I've been involved in politics for over 25 years. The president is a handful, and what happened on January the 6th was terrible for the country, but he's not singularly to blame. Democrats have sat on the sidelines and watched the country be burned down for a year and a half and hadn't said a damn word. And most Republicans are tired of the hypocrisy.
Wow, hey? Poles apart, even within the same party. I got the latest take on this from John Decker, Grey Television White House correspondent, when I crossed to him in Washington earlier. John Decker, thanks for joining us again. The impeachment trial went pretty much the way you predicted, and now the focus is on Donald Trump and his future within the broader Republican Party movement.
It is. I think that's a good way of looking at it. We don't know, obviously, whether President Trump is going to run for re-election in 4 years. But what we do know, Chris, is that President Trump, after the results, the acquittal from the impeachment trial, is still the leader of the Republican Party. And what that means simply is that if he wants to run for president in 2024, the nomination really is his for the taking.
It's extraordinary stuff. We've had Nikki Haley, a woman I've got a lot of respect for, the former governor, also the former US representative at the United Nations. She says that Donald Trump took the party down a path it never should have gone down. They never should have followed him, and they should make sure they don't do it again. But then on the other hand, you've got that senior senator from North Carolina, Lindsey Graham, saying that Donald Trump is still the most vibrant and most potent force in the Republican Party. He wants Trump plus.
The Republican Party, Chris, is at a crossroads. You have the position that's been represented by Nikki Haley, the former U.S. ambassador to the UN. You have the position that you just mentioned that's referenced by Lindsey Graham, who is the senator from South Carolina. And this is the thing that the Republican Party will need to figure out over the course of really the next 2 years when the midterm elections are upon us. President Trump has $30 million in an account that he can spend on primary races, going after some of these same Republicans that voted against him in the impeachment and also in the trial. And I think he'll wield that power over the course of the next 2 years and perhaps beyond that. About 15% of the Republican Party right now has an unfavorable opinion of President Trump. But I think more importantly, that means that 85% have a positive opinion of President Trump. And that means a lot over the course of the next 2 and also the next 4 years.
So much for the reunification of the United States and coming to the centre. It seems as polarised as ever. In the wake of this impeachment trial, you've got the Democrats saying the actual voting in the Senate was a horrible aberration, a blow against democracy and accountability. And of course, the Republicans now saying that that whole process that Donald Trump was put through was an attack upon democracy.
Yeah, there's still so much division in the U.S. Associated with the events of January 6th and the impeachment that followed. That's not going to go away anytime soon. That being said, I think that both the leaders of the Republican and Democratic parties in both the House and the Senate do want to look forward to the Biden administration and the legislative agenda that President Biden has before them. They want to put what happened in the past month or so in the rearview mirror and look forward and not really talk about impeachment anymore. They want to focus on essentially what the next 2 years are going to look like in terms of what President Biden is going to put forward for his legislative agenda.
Yeah, that seems pretty wise. Just finally, John, tell us about Lara Trump and whether she might be the next Trump or the first of any other Trumps to get into a representational position in US politics.
Well, she is considering a run for the U.S. Senate in North Carolina. And interestingly enough, there's talk about Ivanka Trump, the daughter of President Trump, possibly challenging Marco Rubio, a Republican from Florida, for the U.S. Senate. These are obviously things that the Trump family wants to move forward on, perhaps in terms of extending that dynasty, extending that legacy beyond President Trump. If he decides he doesn't want to run for president in 2024, there may indeed be a Trump in the U.S. Senate beyond that.
Extraordinary times. Thanks again for making sense of it all for us, John.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Thanks for having me on this evening, and talk to you real soon.
Donald Trump might enjoy exercising political power even more than exercising power on reality TV. We will see.